This story is about an incident that occurred to a member of our family as related by his son. The main incident took place near the town of Fredericktown, Missouri. Fredericktown is a city in Madison County in the northeastern foothills of the St. Francis Mountains. The town is surrounded on three sides by the Mark Twain National Forest. As you listen to the story, stop and think about how many of the strange things occur in and around the public lands. Not just in this type of incident, but all kinds of things. Bigfoot, missing people, UFO'S, and paranormal, just to mention a few. I wonder why that is. But I digress. Let's get on to the story, titled Flying Saucer in the Ozarks of Missouri. In the late summer of 1990, a couple of years before Dad passed away, we were on a fishing trip. Time had been passing slowly, and our fishing was not being very successful. Things were pretty dull, and we began talking. Dad started telling me all kinds of stories about his work as a civil engineer up in St. Louis, and places he had been, things he had done. He was retired by this time, but still enjoyed the memories. While talking, we would watch the night sky, and there were several meteors dropping through the sky, more than what you would normally see. I guess we were having a small meteor shower at the time. Then he began to tell me this story. In 1968, Dad was headed south on State Highway 67 going to Fredericktown. For anyone not familiar with the area, Highway 67 is a 4-lane divided highway. Mom was in the hospital there, and they were expecting a baby to arrive soon. He was on the highway not far from the Fredericktown exit. At this stretch of the road there is a large hill, and at the bottom of that hill is a huge valley. The road goes up another hill, and then you come upon the flat area where the exit to the town is. The valley is where this incident took place. Dad was on the first large hill and driving down into the valley when he saw all kinds of commotion up in front of him. There were jets flying all over the place. Cars were pulled over to the side of the road, and he did too. They were pulled over on both directions of the highway, and police cars all over the place. On the eastern side of the Ozarks, you don't see anything like that normally, and especially back in that time period. I am supposing that it was possibly the patrolmen or other officials shining flashlights and spotlights into the air. Aircraft had their navigational lights on, and there was the glow from the lights of the nearby town in the background. He stayed there, and while watching, saw a flying saucer. He was emphatic that it was not a UFO. It was a flying saucer. He described the shape as if someone would take two saucers from a set of dishes and invert one on top of the other. There was a stub sticking out of the top in the center, in which there were windows. Being a Navy man from World War II, he actually said they looked like portholes, then later said windows. In those windows he could see two people or beings. As far as size, it appeared to him to be at least as large as the conventional airliners of the time. It was moving left and right, up and down, back and forth, effortlessly and quickly, as in an instant. The small fighter jets were all over the place, and the saucer was moving as if it were teasing them, staying away from them, and the jets could not catch up to it. About that time, a highway patrolman walked up to the front of the car, wrote down his license number, walked up to Dad, and asked for his driver's license. Dad asked, "What's wrong?" The officer answered, "I just need to see your license." Dad gave it to him, and he wrote down some information, I am guessing his name and address, and handed it back. The officer said, "Sir, no matter what you think, you did not see anything. Nothing ever happened here. Do you understand?" Dad replied, "Yeah." You have to remember, at that time people still respected authority, and he was a World War II veteran. He knew what authority meant and understood the chain of command. To be quite honest, I was amazed at his story, because if there was ever a doubter in anything alien, it was Dad. His talking continued. I think it was a relief to him to finally be talking about this incident, and I believe he was possibly still trying to rationalize it. He spoke of his tour in the Navy and how during part of it he was a guard on a flying boat. They were mainly used for rescue of people from sinking ships and downed planes, but also transported Japanese prisoners of war from all up and down the western seaboard. He said he had thousands of hours of flight time during this tour, most of which was night duty. Never had he seen anything that could be called a UFO or spaceship until that night in 1968. Now, jump forward in time to about 2010. I was at work one day and my buddy told me that he had a cool story for me when we went on break. It was in the fall, close to Halloween, and all of the guys had been telling different weird stories. We were alone on break and he began his story. He said back in the late 60s, a friend of his was coming out of Fredericktown, heading north on State Highway 67, and was at the hill going into the valley, and all of the cars were pulled off onto the side of the road watching a flying saucer. Planes were flying all over the place like they were trying to chase it, but they couldn't get close to it. He said a patrolman came up to his car and wrote down his license number and then his driver's license information and continued to tell him, "No matter what you think you see, you didn't see it. You were never here." I must have had a strange look on my face because he asked if something was wrong. Then I told him the story from my dad. By the time break was over, we were both covered in goosebumps. I never dreamed that Dad's story would be told to me again by another person. That was a great story, and thank you for sharing. It is strange how this world works, and stranger still, things that are in it that we had no idea could exist. Most of us have had a very sheltered childhood, never having a thought of things outside of our little world. Some of us have had experiences that no child should ever have, and has continued into our adult life. People, for whatever reason they hold, are reluctant to talk about these experiences. Sometimes they don't speak of it because of ridicule and being made fun of from others. Sometimes it still creates a feeling of terror and insecurity. We are hoping to build a platform where people can share their experience or story to help ease that feeling of having to keep that secret, feeling totally alone. We hope that in some strange way, this sharing can be a release of those feelings and people can join together with one another and feel comfortable talking amongst ourselves. A type of get it off your chest, so to speak. If you have an experience or story that you would like to share and have read on our channel, please email it to sharingofstrangestories@gmail.com. If you want to remain anonymous, please put that at the beginning of the email or in the subject line. We will be happy to share your story and help build a community for you to join. Thank you for listening and stay safe. If you have had an experience with or about Bigfoot, Dogman, cryptids, skinwalkers, UFOs, paranormal, stairs in the woods, or any other strange but true happenings, and would like to share them on our channel to be read, please email them to sharingofstrangestories@gmail.com. All we ask is that you share true happenings and not a fictional story. These will be read on our channel, so please keep them family friendly. Also, if you want to remain anonymous and do not want your name read to the public, please put that at the beginning of the email or in the subject line. Thank you for listening and stay safe. If you like this idea and story, please hit the subscribe and like buttons below. Leave a comment if you like, but please be considerate of others.